Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next Attack on Titan Season 2 episode review. This one's going to be for episode 4, which is called Soldier. So, yeah, another pretty good episode of Attack on Titan. I think this one was definitely one of the more notable episodes this season, as we've finally, I suppose, gotten into the root of, getting an idea about what this initial start of the season is going to be like, and it is based around this kind of battle at this castle. And it was definitely a pretty interesting fight. It was a kind of smaller engagement. We didn't get to see a ton of the fighting. It was more focused on what the recruits who couldn't fight were doing on the inside, and kind of delving into little bits and pieces that happened in the lead up to this, and what happens immediately after the bit that we saw from the end of last week's episode. So when you really break it down, the focus of this episode is, for the first 2/3, I'd say, on Reiner, and then the last third on Ymir. But there's definitely a sense of that they're somewhat linked in a way. But I think obviously the big reveal at the end that Ymir is a Titan shifter is pretty huge, kind of surprising, and that she's going to fight for Krista, and kind of establishing that, okay, there's this promise made between Ymir and Krista previously. We're probably going to learn about that next time out. That's what the preview was about. And then the bit at the start of the episode with Ymir and Reiner, what that kind of confrontation was about at the end of last week's episode was, it was actually about the fact that Ymir was looking for food. She picks out a canned food. She knows what it is. She hands it to Reiner, and he has no idea what it is. So the question is obviously that she knows some language that Reiner has never heard of, which is obviously not the language of the people who currently live in the walls, and it speaks to the fact of, okay, this is either food from outside of the walls, or it's just so old that it's from the previous generation or something like that. Either way, it created a mystery about Ymir immediately at the start, and whether or not the reveal that she's actually a Titan shifter at the end means anything, I'm not entirely sure, but still, a pretty interesting one nonetheless. And she's going to obviously fight to protect Krista primarily, but also the other recruits, because all of the other members of the Scouts that were there who could actually fight, had their maneuver gear, were killed. Now, this is obviously something I predicted pretty much as soon as this was the fight that was set up. I think it was pretty obvious what was going to happen. They were against the odds here. The people who had their gear were going to die. The people who didn't were going to survive. It's one of those weird things in this show that is actually almost reversed. When the show first started, it was praised for being the show of anyone can die. The amount of characters that die, it's really brutal. Anyone can die. And then now we're at a stage where it's so clear that the main characters aren't going to be the ones killed, and it's going to be almost every minor character introduced that you're not learning a ton about, who seems reasonably skilled, they're the ones that are going to be going to die, and the more senior recruits here with the rookies were the ones, of course, who did actually die here. So that's getting a little stale, I think, that they constantly do that. Just introduce a new group of scouts who seem quite skilled, but they're really just there to die so that our main characters don't die. But it is what it is. That's the format of the show. That's the way they're going about doing it. But it's become really obvious that that's what the show is doing. The fights were interesting. Reiner getting his chance to, I suppose, show that he's now a soldier. He's willing to put himself on the line for other people. It seems to be spurred on by the fact that he and Bertolt, and they had another friend with them, they were attacked by a Titan, and the friend basically pushed Reiner out of the way. The friend got eaten, and so that's why Reiner's always kind of the first one to kind of throw himself in the line of danger, do the most dangerous things, because he wants to be the one to save other people. He gets his arm bitten by a Titan, but it's a small enough Titan that he's able to kind of pick it up, which was a pretty cool moment where he was just kind of, you thought he was about to sacrifice himself by jumping out the window, but Connie ends up kind of cutting the Titan off Reiner, and he seems to have a broken arm, but we'll see how much lasting damage there is from that. Um, the other thing would be like Ymir, I suppose, in the middle of the episode makes a lot of jokes about the fact that Connie thinks that potentially that Titan was his mother, and basically what happened to his village. And Reiner basically confronts her about it, like, you did that on purpose, didn't you, to kind of lighten kind of Connie's mood and kind of distract him from that. But there was definitely a sense of like she was overdoing it to the point where she kind of knew what was going on in the village, and she just wasn't telling anyone. So she definitely knows a lot more than I think she's letting on. Obviously, she's that type of character where she's not really going to be super open about everything. And the only thing she really seems to care about is kind of protecting Krista and not letting, I suppose, directing Krista in a way where like she obviously survives and lives, but lives a life that she's kind of proud of. And we'll obviously see what exactly happens in the next episode with that, in that, you know, Krista reacting to Ymir's sacrifice and this reveal about Ymir is going to be pretty notable, I think. And then of course I suppose we have what I assume is the rest of the like scouting legion, like Eren, Mikasa, and so on, pretty much en route to this location. They're going to pass by the castle. I assume they're going to notice what's happening here, and there we'll see what exactly plays out. But yeah, I think that's the core really of what this episode was about. It was you know, you had the Beast Titan, I suppose, making it very clear that he's the one kind of commanding them. He seems to be very much able to control them. They still haven't properly explained why he's able to activate them at nighttime, but he seems further able to do that. He's throwing pieces of the wall, which took out 2 of the scouts, and just from a distance he's directing this whole thing. And the Titans suddenly, with strategy, are able to take out the scouts, when without the strategy the scouts can pretty much just, you know, perch up high on places and take out Titans more or less at will if they're skilled enough. So this is a pretty big threat, knowing that there's a Titan out there who can command people like this. But yeah, it's a pretty to the point episode. It's the Reiner stuff and the Ymir stuff, and then just a bit of action in the middle. I'm definitely excited to see where exactly they go. I suppose once all the characters get into position and we get who's fighting who and so on. But it's definitely interesting, intriguing, exciting for sure. And I like that we're kind of getting a little bit of insight into a lot of the other the rookie characters that we didn't quite get in previous seasons. Like even Reiner in this episode, when Krista was kind of patching up his arm, you kind of went back to his more comedic trait that we got a little bit of in the first season, where it seems like when girls do something nice for him, he's like immediately like, I need to marry this girl. And I think that's just, for such a serious character, giving him that little kind of odd thing, I think was actually pretty nice. But yeah, that's Attack on Titan, Season 2, Episode 4, Soldier. Pretty to the point episode, not a ton to say about it, but definitely a good episode. But in the comments, let me know what your thoughts were on the episode as well as my review. But that's been the video for today. Thanks for watching, and bye.